Hello and welcome back to this channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to explore the new feature in Adobe Fresco, that's animation, or as Adobe would like to call it, motion in Fresco. So let's just get started. So sticking to my regular theme of learning by doing, we're going to go ahead and create this animation in Adobe Fresco. So let me just show you that. That's a growing plant, and there you go. Don't worry, this is a super simple animation. Even if you're a beginner, I would highly recommend that you watch this tutorial. Pause if you feel like it's too fast or it's too much to handle, but always pause, work on it, and then get back again. Okay, so let's just get started. So let me just show you what we are going to cover. I'm going to break down this illustration into few different parts. One, we have this moving clouds. Two, we have this bee which actually moves in a path, and also it has its wing, that is flapping wings. Okay. 3, this plant grows and then flowers, and this 4th one is this pot which is stagnant throughout the artwork, that is, it does not change or there's no animation on it. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on create new. Let's go into print and click on small postcard. If this is not in the landscape mode, click on this tiny arrow here and switch to landscape. Let's click on that. Alright, so you can choose any kind of artboard or canvas size that you want. It's not necessary that it has to be like this. First off, I'm going to draw the pot. So the brush that I'm going to be using for this illustration is going to be a pixel brush. But just to let you know, animation or motion works on all 3 kinds of brushes. That is, you can use your oil paint brushes or watercolor brushes to animate as well. So go ahead and choose those brushes right now if you want to, because this illustration is not brush specific. You can use vector brushes or any brushes that you want. So I'm going to choose my ink and Belgian comics brush. The size actually depends on how you want to draw. Like, it's based on your convenience level. If you like drawing with really thick size or the bigger size, go ahead and draw that, or use the smaller ones if you feel you're comfortable with that. I'm going to keep it at 74. I'll change it as and when I'm trying to draw. Okay. And for colors, I don't have any color palette right now because I thought this illustration is mainly going to be about animating things, and we are not going to concentrate too much on colors because it really doesn't matter if your plant is a little more green or a little brown, or it really doesn't matter, right? So we're going to go ahead and pick and choose colors. If you want, I'll share the color palette by what I get by the end of this tutorial as well. So if you want, you can go ahead and download it from the link in the description box below. Okay. So let's start off with the pot, and for pot I want something brown, so I'll move this thing. Let me quickly tell you what I do. So if I want some reddish color, I have to keep this outer ring thing is where you choose the main color. So I'm going to keep it somewhere around here, and if I keep it all the way up, it's the brightest color that you get. That is exactly what's on this wheel, and then you can move up and down to create whatever color you want. So I'm just going to keep it here so that it's kind of brown, and I'm going to draw a pot like this. I'm just going to color it in. It's going to be a rough sketch. Please note, I'm not going to draw something which is like, oh, that's so fine and perfect and anything. I'm just scribbling so that I have some design to show, because animation again is the main point of this tutorial. Okay. All right, I have that, and I'm going to click on a new layer here, and I will click on this clipping mask because I want to add some designs. So I'll go here again, and I'll move this all the way up so that I have really light color. You can change the brush size if you want. So I'm going to drag it down to make it a bit tiny, and I'll make some designs here. Okay, my designs are ready. Now I'm going to click on a new layer, and I'll add a clipping mask again because I want to add some shadow. So I'm going to click here and go to black, and I'm still in the Belgian comics brush. So I'm going to add a shadow like this. So I'll increase this brush size because I want to color stuff. So I'm going to add this black over here, and oops, it's black. So what do? We go to these layers here, click, and you can go ahead and click on overlay, and let's go ahead and reduce this a little bit so that it's a bit nicer. Okay, and I think I want this to be a little round like that. That looks better. If you can hear that noise in the background, I'm absolutely sorry. I picked a wrong filming day. Now it's time to make the plant, and we're going to turn it into an animation. So let's begin. Let's click on a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and choose some green. So I'll go back here to green color here, and you can actually move, the green, and you can move this wherever you want to show green. I want it a bit bluish, so I moved towards the blue, and maybe this color would be okay. That's good. Before you begin your animation, there's one thing you should know. You need to always plan things out. So you can decide like I want so many frames, or I want the animation to go this way. That's because if you have just one animation, like for example, if I had just the plant growing, I need not worry about a lot of things. But if I have a growing plant and then I have moving clouds, then I'll have to worry about certain things like frames. And I'll show you what they are. Okay, to begin animation, you need to have this option right here. If you don't see this, go ahead and update your Fresco right now. And once you have this, let's begin. So click on this, and now immediately you get the animation screen, that is play all. There's a path which could be grayed out, and then there is settings. So let's start drawing our frames now. So this is what is called as a frame. So every animation consists of number of frames, like one frame after the other. So 1/1 means that this is the first frame out of one frames. That is, we have only one frame. So if I click on this plus here, you can see it increases third frame. If I go to 1 of 3, so it shows you which frame you're on and the total number of frames. Okay, I'm going to undo that. So the first one. But before we begin, I want the pot layer to be on the top. So I'm just going to go to the pot layer, click on these 3 dots, click on select multiple, and click everything that makes up the pot, and click on this folder. And let's move this to the top like this. Okay, now go to the layer beneath which you created, click on this. Now let's start drawing. I want to draw first 2 leaves like this and a tiny plant. Now I'll click on plus, and now I want to show that the plant is growing, but I don't know what I drew in the previous one, right? So I could just click on this settings and click on this onion skin. So what this onion skin does is it shows us the previous frame, but it's a bit transparent. See, you can see the previous frame, right? But it's a little transparent. So there are many things you can set. You can reduce the opacity of this. You can also increase the frames. For example, now I can see 3 frames behind me. If I want only to see the previous frame, you have to set it to 1 so that you can just see the previous frame. For example, now I'm just going to go ahead and draw this a little longer, and maybe make this like this and then draw the leaf. Make this a little like that and then draw the leaf. I should probably decrease this a little bit to 50s. Now I'll click on plus, and now you can see just the previous frame and not the previous one. So if I increase this, see, you can see both the ones behind, right? So let's just make this one. That's more convenient. So let's just draw this. This goes up like that, and I want a bit of leaf here. And then the small leaf. We're basically going to try and draw our plant growing like that. Now click on plus. This goes even more taller. This goes a little taller like that. This goes like this. Okay, and once you feel like you want to check these things, right? You're like desperate now to run the animation and see how it works. So you can just click on play all, and you can see it moves. Okay, it's too fast, so you can go to your settings, and there's something called as frames per second. So you can set this to whatever you want. I'm going to reduce it and maybe keep it at 4, just like that. Now you can see it's growing. This is too slow, right? Let's go ahead and increase this a little bit. See, it's just growing. Okay, you can pause. Now let's go to the next one. I'm going to go ahead and draw this even taller. So for the next frame onwards, I want to show a flower. That means I'm going to keep the plant just like that, but I want to show just the part where the flower blooms. So I definitely don't want to draw this thing again. So what you can do is you can click on duplicate frame, and it just duplicates the frame before that. Okay, and then you can go ahead and choose some bright color, maybe red, and I'm going to draw some like that. Again, duplicate frame and maybe make it like this, and then duplicate frame and then duplicate free. And I obviously want to go ahead and add some bits to it, so I'll choose yellow and I'll choose some things like this. I'll go back to the previous frame, make something like that. Over here I don't have to see that, but I do want to add a bit of darker red to the background here to show that it's still blooming, like that. And then like this. Okay, let's play it. How's that? How cool is that? Don't you think it's come out perfect? So this is how you animate this flowering plant, and don't you see how super easy it was? And have you noticed one thing? There are no multiple layers here because all the things that we created for this plant is just on this particular layer. So if you want to hide this one, you can just click on I and the whole animation goes away. Like for pot, when I click on it, it shows only one because there's only one element for the entire thing, right? And if you click on this, you'll see there are 9 frames total. Remember this number, it's very important. And it comes all through in this particular layer. So if I go like this, you can see it change over here as well. And there you go. So that's how animation works in Fresco. But wait a minute, we're not done yet, okay? So let's go ahead and create a bee which is trying to turn around or run around, okay? Let's click on a new layer. I'm going to turn this off now just because, you can always turn it back on, doesn't matter. So I'll go into my yellow, I'll choose something like this and okay. I'm going to draw a bee, but I'm going to draw it in this direction. I'll tell you why later. But it's very important to draw in this direction if you want to utilize this option in Fresco, okay? Now let's go ahead and choose black. And I'm going to draw stripes like this. And an eye. Oops. Okay. So now we have to animate this. So click on the animation tool. And now I want this bee to have wings flapping, okay? So for that, the body of the bee is going to remain same. So what I'm going to do now is duplicate this. Click and then duplicate. So when you do that, do you see that it went off to the first frame of this plant as well? So I'm going to click and duplicate frame, and I'm going to do that until I have 9 frames. The reason is because you have to have the consistent number of frames throughout your illustration, or it should be a multiples of 9, like 18, and so on and so forth. That's because if you don't have 9 frames, this one is going to run only maybe till 5. If you have 5 frames, it will run till 5 and then go back here. So it'll cut off the main illustration as well. This is something which you should remember, because if you end up adding an extra frame later on to your illustration, you have to go ahead and add an extra frame to everything else. And you can have blank frames, by the way. So for example, I'm just going to delete this and just click on plus. It'll still have, so you can have a blank frame. It's totally okay? So let's go to the first one now. I'm in the right brush, maybe reduce it. I'm going to draw like that. This. It's not a bee, it's probably a butterfly. I don't know. I'm just trying to draw something. Okay, the last one is like that. So now if you click on play all, you can see it is flapping its wings, okay? Now I want this bee to go around. And what do you do for that? Let's pause this. And now it's an awesome tool, that is this path comes into picture. Click on this path, and now I can draw the exact path I want the bee to take. So I'm going to go ahead and draw like this, and I want it to go out. And this is what happens. The bee is flapping its wings and going along the path. But it doesn't look good because it's not really going in the direction. See, it's so weird out over there. So now let's go into these settings. By the way, if this doesn't pop up, you can just click on this effects right here, okay? So blend mode. So if you have a background and if you're using some shapes or something, you can select different kinds of blend mode for this. But for illustration, it doesn't actually make sense. Opacity is the same thing. Doesn't make sense. So next is add multiples. So what if you want more than one bee? You can always increase this and see there are 2. Now there are 3, and you can actually make it more, and there are multiples of them. We don't want so many bees, right? let's make it 2. Okay, and then scatter. What this does, it scatters it along, like, you know, if you do this, it goes away from the path. See, do you see that? It's not sticking to the path right now. We don't want that, so I'm going to put it to the path. Speed options. So uniform speed is now what's happening, and this option is called original speed. So when I choose the original speed, what it means is the speed with which I drew this path. So let me go ahead and do that again. So you have one path here, and I'm going to draw one path here. Okay, there you go. And you can see that these are moving pretty fast. Not as fast as this. I'm going to cancel that. You can press that X to cancel, by the way. I'm going to draw this very slow. Let's see what happens. See how slow this is? And this is super fast. That's because that's how fast I drew these parts. So you can always click on X. So this is what is meant by original speed. I like to keep it at uniform speed because why not? Ease in and ease out is when there's an X point, the entry point. You slowly go in and then pick up speed. And when you're entering that exit point, again, you slowly come in and do that. So I don't know if I'd use it anywhere, but see, it's so slow, but then it picks up speed. I don't want that, so I'm gonna do that. So frames is again, I would ideally keep it something in the multiples of what I have already, the frame rate. So I don't know, you can keep it at 81 maybe, around that number. And okay, then the final one is align to path, and this is why we drew it like that. So I'm going to click like this, and now you can see the bees are actually flying along the path. Do you see that? And that's why, my dear fellows, we drew the bee in that direction. Okay. And then randomize is, you can just click on randomize and it goes, you know, random way, wherever you want to go. It doesn't go to the path, but I'm going to go ahead and reduce that. So once that's done, you can click on that and your bee is ready as well. So let's pause it, and now let's do play all, and you can see, okay, hold on a second. Let me pause it. If I go to some other layer, the path goes away. Then play all, and you can see your bees. Perfect. Now there's the last bit left, and that is the clouds, which by the way I included only to show you that you can use multiple levels of illustration or animation in your Fresco, and you don't have to worry because everything is in a separate layer like this. Let's pause this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead on top of this plant layer and click on a new layer, and obviously it shows up as one frame. That's what we're going to do. And 1 of 9 is the maximum number of frames in this artwork. So if the bee had like 10 frames here, it would show up as 1 of 10. Okay, but again, if you don't have enough frames that the frame doesn't match, then it's going to be a problem. Like I said, you can have multiples of 9 as well. Any number you choose, make sure you have multiples of that. Okay, all right, now to draw the clouds. So let me go ahead and choose a blue color, something like that, or no, let me make it lighter. And I'm going to choose a vector brush because why not? Because it's going to be super simple. And my clouds are going to be like this. Like that. Okay. And now you can go ahead and click on a new layer, or you can just click on duplicate frame. Now you're on the second layer. The onion thing is on, that's why it becomes darker. You can click on your transforms tool. And I'm just going to go ahead and move this here a little bit so that we know the clouds are moving, right? Click on done. And let's remove this onion skin, by the way. And you can go ahead and edit anything is there. Next, click, duplicate frame, and click on this transform tool. Oh, where are we? Why is this choosing everything? Because I think there's something here. Let's move this a little bit more. Click on done. And I want to add some extra bits. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it here like that. Okay. Now click, duplicate frame, transform tool, move this a little bit more, click on done, and you can actually add this to show like that. Okay, let's do the same. And I'm going to not add anymore. The clouds are moving away, by the way. So let's do that, and then like that. Duplicate frame, like that, done. And for the final one, I'm just going to clip it blank because I don't want any clouds in that. Okay, now let's go ahead and play this. See the clouds move away from the illustration. Oh, they should definitely come down. So pause, go behind the plant, play all. And there you go. That's perfect. But we're not done yet because we didn't discuss few important things in this animation. That is, let's go to settings. So we discussed motion or settings, that is frame per second. This is how fast or slow you want your illustration to be. Usually I think 15 frames per second is the norm, but we don't have so many frames to work with here because ours is a tiny illustration. So set it to whatever number you feel is, awesome or makes your illustration or animation look awesome, okay? And then up is playback loop. So what this does, it plays it in a loop, which is obvious, I guess. You can do a boomerang, that is go up and go back. Let's select boomerang and play it. You see that it comes back. The animation goes here and comes back, okay? And then we have obviously play once. It just plays it once and then done. And once you're done with your illustration, you can just click on this arrow here or share button, publish and export, and you see this motion and generate frames, and you can save it as an MP4 file, which is great because it's a video file. And you can go ahead and create a lot of other things, a lot of different kinds of animation, a ball bouncing, experiment with different shapes and blend modes. That looks cool too. And instead of this plant, you can grow a cacti. I did try this as well, a flowering pot, a cacti growing, and oh wait, there was a sun. Where was that? Let me just pause this. Yes, and there was his sun. And there's obviously a shadow moving. And yeah, I tried out different things, but I just wanted to show you like different things that you could do with this animation. I hope I was clear enough to tell you how to work with this. Only thing is it might seem pretty confusing that you have all these different layers, but each one is not a frame, right? So for this illustration, we just have like 4 layers. The one is this pot layer, which does not go away or does not animate. Next is for the bee, next is for the plant, and next for the clouds, right? And under each layer, you have multiple frames. You need to make a note of the frame numbers so that you have consistent frames across all your artwork. So I guess that's it. That brings us to the end of this tutorial, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you can create something awesome with this new feature. And do let me know if you have questions, and I'll try to answer them because I know it might be overwhelming for some people. I might not have been super clear. Sorry about that, but I tried to cover as much as I could in this illustration. If you like this tutorial, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to support my channel, you can always buy me a coffee at ko-fi.com. Please do subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell so that you get notified when I post a new video. And if you do create anything with one of my tutorials, tag me on Instagram with print me some color or think beyond color. If you have questions, you can always email me at the channel name @gmail.com, or you can also comment here, and I'll try to respond to you as early as possible. I guess I'll see you until the next video then. Bye bye.